Dr. Jason Stott, man, thanks so much for coming on the Infinite Banking Radio podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So, again, guys, like I mentioned before, this guy is a rock star dentist, but most importantly, he understands real estate better than just about everybody else that I know. But Dr. Stott, man, get more into your story. Who are you, where you're at, what you're doing, and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so fourth generation Montanan. Why do I say Montanan? Everyone's kind of got a backstory on where they came from and why they're here. Grew up on a dairy farm, and my grandfather and all my uncles lived on the same farm. Unfortunately, with interest rates in the early '80s, they lost the farm. So really touched me early on in life when I saw the farm getting auctioned off, and had a huge impact on my love for the land. So as I grew up, never really knew a lot of people that had jobs. They were all kind of independent farmers and independent business owners. So always wanted to go that route. Kind of looked around. I went the higher education route. Got an undergraduate degree in accounting, then went and got a master's degree in information technology, then went back to dental school. So have gone the higher education route, seen a lot of things that way, and just trying to find ways to get into small business. So got into dentistry, and then opened up my own office, bought a private office just outside of the Denver International Airport, and just started putting systems together on how to repeat the same thing. And so started in 2013, and we now have about 20 offices here in Colorado. And always been interested in real estate, so started buying some of the offices, the real estate underneath the practices, and I own about 7 of the offices right now, some of the real estate underneath the offices, and am starting to get a little bit more commercial real estate also. But I see real estate really as a lot of opportunity as far as tax reduction. It also has the appreciation component. It has the value add component. It also has the ability to pay down your principal. And so there's so many ways with real estate to increase your net worth, and really, help yourself combat the effects of inflation.
So, Doc, obviously, a lot of people, they get started buying real estate, maybe in the single family game. Maybe you have a couple of those. We've gotten into that, but you have decided to go more of the commercial route, like you mentioned, with the buildings that you own. And I remember last time we spoke, even a couple of weeks ago, you just took down a monster deal. So, can you give us the details of why you prefer commercial over residential, but then also give us some details of the deal that you just closed, and most importantly, why we buy real estate for the bonus depreciation?
Yeah, so I mean, I've done the residential route. Had a house that I rented out when I went to dental school, and then had a house that I did Airbnb. The issue with residential is, and I'll just show you kind of the dichotomy between residential and commercial is, so with residential, you have potential of people coming in and smoking in your house. You have people that are kind of incentivized to kind of destroy your house. They're there all the time. They're using the toilets all the time. Okay. Versus this latest commercial property that we just purchased. They're hardly ever there. We're redoing the bathrooms right now, and they're hardly ever there. They have a huge incentive to make sure that the place looks as best as possible because there's business that's in there. So in reality, I think that that's the difference between residential and commercial is, to me, the tenant is the biggest thing. With commercial, you're dealing with a higher quality of tenant. With residential, you can get amazing tenants, but you can also get people that are going to destroy your $500,000 asset. So for me, that's why I like commercial. I think the big thing with commercial too is getting people towards triple net leases, where with residential, you're responsible for all of the repairs, you're responsible for all the taxes. Whereas with commercial, a triple net lease is you own the shell of the building and they take care of all of that.
So obviously we're all buying commercial real estate. We're buying real estate in general for the passive income, right? So initially, or when we hear the idea financial freedom, that always kind of equates to whatever our monthly costs are. We have more passive income that exceeds that, allowing us to really spend our time how we want. But in my opinion, and I think the conversations that you and I have had that are more high level, there's another component to real estate, and it's the tax implications, right? Nobody really talks about this, especially for the high income earners, right? Because the reality is a high income earner, the way he makes the majority of his money is by having a high income producing business or a high income job. But they don't, most of the time they phase out of those deductions and subsidies from the government when you start to earn a certain level of income. So you as a doctor, not only have you discovered that there's a really nice tax incentive in the law called depreciation with real estate, but we're able to do and take what is called bonus depreciation. Can you kind of go into some details about how you've discovered that, number one, but number two, how you implement that in your business and couple that with your dentistry practice?
Well, the first way that you kind of discover all of this is you get a $250,000 tax bill. When you get a $250,000 tax bill, or even if you get a $50,000 tax bill, it makes you think like, what can I do to reduce this tax liability? And especially, with an accounting background, I'm like, we've got to find ways to do that. And so it just kind of sent me down all of the different paths on how can we do that. And there's a lot of, I would call smaller tax deductions, like your home office deduction, um, child tax credit, you can buy an EV car, those types of things. Those are kind of smaller ones that are going to phase out pretty quickly. But if you want to get into larger tax deductions or ways to offset your liability, yeah, you've got to get into depreciation, which is just kind of a phantom way of your real estate actually isn't going down in value; it's actually going up in value. But the government allows you to depreciate or take larger tax deductions. With the bonus depreciation that's in effect from now until 2026, you can front run all of those deductions up towards the front of your purchase so that you can take bigger tax deductions soon.
And obviously, why that makes sense is because the time value of money, right? If we can actually, because in commercial real estate, we can deduct depreciation over a 39-year timeline, but that takes a long time. And the reality is, unless you're in the very small minority, you'll most likely will sell a property and recapture some depreciation. But the reality is we want to front load that cost into the first year as often as possible, because we get to take that money and put it back into work other than giving it to the government. So can you give us a little bit more details of how you discover property? How do you have the time to find commercial real estate, to understand bonus depreciation? But there's also another caveat called a real estate professional status, because again, you as a high income earnings doctor, in the government's eyes, the rule says that you have to spend over half of your time in real estate in order to be a real estate professional, which means that you're able to take a passive loss from the bonus depreciation and convert that into an active loss, which means you're able to take that against your other active income. How do you, as a high income net worth surgeon or dentist, excuse me, be able to have this real estate professional status in order to take those passive losses?
Well, again, I think it comes from me growing up on a dairy farm. We work all the time. I've worked 80 to 100-hour weeks basically since I was born. So I work in the clinic 36 hours a week, and then every other hour I am working on real estate. Even when I'm at clinic, I'm in my building and working on repairs and things like that. So yeah, the first step is to get your real estate professional status, which is two requirements: working over 750 hours a year, and second, having over 50% of your time dedicated to real estate. Now, the other thing with that is it doesn't only have to be you, it can also be your spouse. So it's either you or your spouse need to qualify for that. So It just comes from, for me, it's just curiosity. I've always loved real estate, and so I dedicate a very, very large percentage of my time. When other people are sleeping, I'm looking at real estate. And what do I look for? It comes down to me for basically price per square foot, and you need to grade the opportunity that you're looking at. If you're looking at a 10 out of 10, yeah, it's not going to be under $100 a square foot. So you need to basically take your version of what you think your opportunity is. Is it a 7 out of 10? Well, what are you willing to pay per square foot for a 7 out of 10 asset?
And number one, we can get into how we underwrite and find deals all day long. I know that you and I are kind of in the same boat of finding value add opportunities. And what I mean is finding a piece of real estate that is either vacant and going and finding a tenant and purchasing, because in commercial real estate, as we know, the value of commercial real estate is driven by the rental income versus residential. It's just basically on the comps around the area. So if we're able to go and find a tenant and create cash flow, it's going to increase the value of the building. Or the other route is, as what you just mentioned a minute ago, is finding a building that may be a full service lease where the landlord pays all the expenses. You shift that over to being a triple net lease, where it means the tenant pays all the expenses. So just finding value add deals like that. So how do you go about finding your deals, or at least sourcing and most importantly, underwriting your real estate deals?
Yeah, for me, it's just two sources right now, which is either LoopNet, or you need to be in touch with brokers that are always looking for deals. So deals come to their plate, and they're going to offer them up on the MLS if they can't go to their clients and get the deal done privately or before it hits the market. So that's really the way to do it. The other way to do it is to just go around and look at properties that look a little bit, something weird is going on. It looks like they're a little bit abandoned. The nice thing about the United States is you can always go and find the contact information for any property owner and figure out what's going on. And there's always a divorce happening. There's always someone who is getting closer to the end of their life, and they don't want to have that real estate anymore. And so those are really the opportunities that you need to be looking for.
Yeah, 100%. There's always an opportunity out there. It's who's willing to turn over the most rocks to find that deal, or at least put your feelers out there with people that you're guys that will say, "Hey, I know that Dr. Stott will close this deal. I'm calling him first." Before we go, I really wanted to get into a little bit more. You shared with me a month or so ago a really unique idea that I'm going to start for my own children. But just a kind of a guidebook to life for your kids that I just thought was just astounding and just very, very, very cool. Can you kind of talk about that and what you've done for your children, and kind of just again, the life book or whatever you call it? I just thought that was just amazing. If you could talk on that.
Yeah, so with any small business, like the book Eve Myth says, you need to have an operating manual for your business. And so it really extrapolates into your own life. You need to have an operating manual for your life. And so part of Open and Affordable, which is the company that I have, we have a lot of operating manuals. But an extension to that is we're trying to teach the doctors on how to create wealth. An extension of that is I want my own children to have the ability to create wealth, which is, what is wealth? Wealth is being super intelligent and being able to understand what's going on in the world. So every single thing that I ever learned in dentistry, I put it into the manuals. Everything that I learn in life, I also put into the same manual. And so as part of kind of our year-end, meeting that we have as a family, I go over every single one of those items that I've learned throughout the years, and I always am updating it. And really, my question is for us, I think that that's what we want to give to our children. But are we all prepared to really say, kids, here's what I've learned, and are you reviewing it constantly with them so that they know where to find that? And that, I think the biggest thing is I don't have the ability to go talk to my great grandfather about what he learned, 100 years ago. But if I had this type of a manual, it'd be the best type of gift that he could have given me. So that's why I try to, write down every little step that I've learned and then give it to my kids.
Yeah, man, I think that's amazing. And I remember you kind of put it on me to start doing that. So I've tried to begin to write things down and include that in just a little, kind of a step-by-step guide to how to do something. I just thought that was really great. So, and before we get out of here, I guess, how could somebody learn more about you, your business, but most importantly, how could people do what you're doing? I mean, again, like you said, 80, 100 hours, that's a lot of time, but and some people might not be willing to do that out of the gate. But what are a couple small steps that someone can do, whether they're a high earning dentist or they're just got a salary job? How can somebody kind of get into the real estate game? Maybe not on the level that you're at yet, but just start to take that first base hit deal just to get the momentum going.
Well, I think it all stems from curiosity. Watching these videos, there's a lot of content on TikTok, YouTube, just curiosity on how this all works. And then the nicest thing is that a lot of times I always felt that people in me maybe my position or no one's positions were super unapproachable. No way. People like us, we want to give our knowledge away because it's so rewarding to help others. So, if you want to find me, go to our website, www.openandaffordable.com, or reach out to me at stott@openandaffordable.com. Or just I think the big thing is that one deal can change your life, and getting into the first deal is the hardest thing in the world, and it maybe not even be the most profitable deal, but guess what? What you learn from that first deal is the best education you're ever going to get. The second deal is going to be easier, and by the time you're at your 10th deal, it's going to be super easy. That's exactly what I tell the doctors. Your first root canal is going to be very, very difficult. Tell me how root canals are after you've done your 100th. After your 100th root canal, it's super easy, right? Just like everything in life, just go and start, and then things get easier. And then find mentors along the way. Find people that will help you along the way and will show you what they've learned. I think that's kind of the best thing for anyone who's wanting to get started.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And I know you and I, Doc, we're both very similar. Like you mentioned, it can be especially out of the gate when you first. I know when I have conversations with people, sometimes it's like I can start rattling off maybe some verbiage or some language about real estate or whatever that might be a little over the head, and then it almost gets people to back away. When in reality, I'm like, I almost need to check myself and realize that hey, I was in someone else's shoes out of the gate too, and that's maybe something I could look at in the mirror, but again, man, I appreciate you coming on today. I know that your time is valuable. Again, you got 80, 100-hour weeks and you got deals to go find, man. So,
yeah,
again, I
well,
appreciate it. Yeah.
I don't think that it takes 80 to 100-hour weeks. I think that there's people that want to work a lot less than that, and that's totally fine. I think the big thing that you have to say is, and this is my thoughts is if you get into $5 million worth of real estate in 20 to 30 years, that real estate will be paid off. So if you want your net worth at the end of your career to be, let's say, $5 million, just get into $5 million worth of real estate and make sure that those loans are paid off. So I think that that's the magic of real estate is whatever your goal is, if it's $1 million, if it's $100 million, all you have to do is just start off by finding that first deal. And then, unfortunately, is you get addicted to it, and then you end up working 80 to 100-hour weeks because it's so enjoyable.
Yeah, and not to mention, I would even say that it's not even work at this point. Like you said, I get a lot of joy out of going walking properties and running the numbers and negotiating the deal and negotiating the fine. Like you said, I don't even look at this as a job. It's something that, like you said, you enjoy getting up and enjoy going to work. And again, I love having conversation with high net worth guys like yourself because again, it sharpens me. The iron sharpens iron. So I don't know, man. I think it's great. And but again, I appreciate your time today. We will obviously keep our conversations going. But again, Doc, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate everything.
Hey, thanks so much.
All right, talk soon.